This
This is
conference
Alan.
will now be recorded.
Okay, this is Alan Llewellyn, chairman of the Stratford High School Renovations Subcommittee. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are conducting this meeting virtually via GoToMeeting.com on Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 at 5:32. At this point, I'll do the roll call for the following members of the subcommittee. Myself, Alan Llewellyn, present. Bob Shalou.
Yes. Present.
Jack Delapiano.
Present.
Bob DiLorenzo. Okay, Rich Fredette. Susan Lance. Ken Poisson.
Here.
Janet Robinson. Dan Semf.
Present.
Okay, and then on to our town representative and consultant roll call, John Casey.
Here.
Rich Ruggiero. Not seeing him. Dan Weakling. From Antonazi, George Perham.
Rich Fredette here.
Okay, thanks, Rich. I got you marked off. Also from Antonazi, Lisa Yates.
I am here.
All right. From Craig, Paul Drummy.
Here.
From Turner, Ron Denny.
Here.
Also from Turner, Tim Kleps.
Present.
Aileen Marsh.
Here.
Margot Paquette.
Yep.
Dawn Savo.
Here.
And Mayor Hoydick.
Here.
All right. Are there any town representatives or consultants whose name I didn't call out above? If so, please state your name and affiliation at this point.
Jennifer Lynn, Turner Construction.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, anyone else? All right, hearing none, I'm going to move forward through the agenda. So quorum for this committee is 5, which we have. Before this meeting is officially called to order, I'd like to remind everyone to raise their hand if they'd like to speak. When the hand raise is acknowledged, please state your name and affiliation each and every time that you speak. And again, these are the rules that are required to officially hold virtual meetings per Governor Lamont's executive order. And I now officially call us to order at 5:34 p.m. That will bring us to item 2, budget line adjustments, and I'll turn it over to Paul Drummy.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. So the budget line adjustments up to date with all the change orders from last month, the last 2 months actually, brings owner's contingency to $607,000 and change. And then I go on to talk about the site acquisition budget line and perhaps transferring those funds, the remaining balance on that line item, to owner's contingency, which would replenish it to the tune of $1.061 million. Are there any objections to this budget line transfer?
No.
Okay. So as this is an in-budget line transfer, do we need to do a formal motion on this, or Paul, we're okay to just shift this over?
Chairman, we're okay to ship it over. The committee was charged with the budget. We are transferring one lump sum of money to another line item. In this case, it's going from site acquisition to owner's contingency.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments concerning the budget line adjustments as presented? Okay, that will bring us to item 3, which was COR 276, the VRF programming update. Again, Paul, I'm going to kind of leave this to you to kind of give us a quick update with where we're at.
So I reached out to the town attorney, Mr. Hodgson, who, within the exhibit that I distributed to the committee for review, he referred me to Bruce Jackson. I've since reached out to Bruce to see where he was with this particular item. I have not received word back from Mr. Jackson. So once I imagine I'll hear back and we'll have more information for the committee come the regular September meeting, Chairman. Any questions?
Nope, none on my end. Any questions from the subcommittee concerning this item?
Would it be appropriate, Rich Fredette, would it be appropriate to table this item?
We could. I don't think we necessarily need to table it or untable it. I think we're kind of going to carry it as a regular item and get updates on it until we kind of receive the findings from the town attorney, and then at that point in time we'll act on them.
Okay, just checking procedurally, that's all.
Nope, understood. So yeah, that so moving before moving forward, are there any other questions concerning the item 3 before we move on to item 4?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Poisson.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to take some items out of order. I'd like to make a motion to take items 5 and 6 prior to item 4, please.
I'll second that, Rich Fredette.
Okay, excellent motion then made in second to take items 5 and 6 out of order to discuss them before item 4. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Under item 5 for photovoltaic update, I am going to once again turn this over to Paul Drummy to give us a brief update on our current status with this item.
Frank Antonazzi, the project team, IES, has been working with Timiak and the owner, the town of Stratford consultant, CSW Energy, just to find out what the options for the best path forward for the town to move forward with, and then bring that information to the committee. The information is not complete at this time, but I anticipate it being complete before the September regular meeting, and then giving the committee options to move forward. Are there any questions?
All right, hearing none, that'll bring us to.
Mr. Chairman, Dan Stumpf, I do have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Daddy.
I did notice in there that they talked about a maintenance fee. I believe it was about $1,200 a year. Do we know if the other schools that presently have solar are being maintained on a yearly basis? Do we have a record of that?
So Dan, I'll draw me from crack. So in a project like this, on a big solar project like this, Dan, there's administrative the time of town employees and or BOE employees that for paperwork submittal to Pura and all the regulations to make sure that everything is up to date, so we don't lose the ZREC coming in from Eversource. So that budget line item is kind of budgeting the time for a town employee for administration to make sure that all the paper properly. And it's a conservative.
So it's not necessarily maintenance of the solar system itself. It's more administrative. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yes, Dan.
All right. Are there other questions concerning photovoltaic? All right, that'll move us on to item 6 under FF&E. Paul, do you want to start off with this and then turn it over to Antonazzi if needed?
Sure. So again, this is one of the nice items that the end user is going to use to increase the experience of the games in the brand new high school gymnasium. It's a digital scores table. Comes with a laptop and the programming that you can project certain images on the front of the table itself. It's a 4-person table. I don't know what to say other than that. It was a request by administration and Tony, the athletic director, just to bring this forward to the committee for approval. Maybe Lisa could touch base a little more on it.
Sure, sure. This is Lisa. When the request for the scorers table came up, this was sort of our kickoff option that we offered to the team. And one of the reasons is because all of the information about the table was clear and available, including the price. And I would also say, since it comes with a laptop computer, we're not worried about connectivity. You have a lot of Wi-Fi in there. And so this should be, and we'll make sure it is, should be plug and play. We did look at a scorer's table made by the manufacturer of your scoreboard. They are not able to integrate their scorer's table with the scoreboard. And there were other things we didn't like about them. So we prefer this one. So.
Rich Fredette, do you have a question?
Oh, yes, I do. This scorer's table and computer, laptop, this will work in conjunction without any problems, the new scoreboard that we ordered several months ago? Or is this totally something separate that's another frill?
So this is a separate item. The laptop comes loaded with presentation software, and I think the purpose behind this is more about sponsorship. So the scorer's table will act as a normal scorer's table otherwise.
So is there a possibility that this table can actually pay for itself long term?
I think that is the idea.
I'm afraid of ideas.
Well, Jack,
without
maybe
a
you
big-
could weigh in on this because this was one of the things that we were talking about when it was introduced.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason for going in this direction is we could sell advertisements to the community. We could celebrate successes of students at Stratford High School as well as for all athletic teams. I do think it could pay for itself over time.
Right, and it's not just a reiteration of the scoreboard, but if there's a big play, the software can do something like, say, big play and generate excitement.
Okay, so we dish out $16,000 now for this thing. Jack, how are we going to keep track of the money that they send out for advertising, and who's going to be responsible for it?
That would fall under Tony D'Angelo, the athletic director, but we could certainly create a line account in the athletic budget where we could come up with a name for it so we know the money collected from advertising from the scoreboard, so we could make direct correlations to the cost and how much we collect.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jack.
All right. Are there other questions concerning the digital scorers table?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Ken Poisson.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I just want to add and just piggyback on what Jack said, that that this is desperately needed. The old scorers table in the old gym at Stratford High was very small, very antiquated. This will go along perfect, like Lisa said, with the modern technology that's in the school. And it has 4 seats, which will seat 1 scorer from each table, an announcer, and the scorekeeper. So it'll be, it's very good. It's been desperately needed at Stratford High for a long time.
I do have one question, Dan Senf. So Is
Okay, Dan?
there an electrical outlet on the floor located right there, or does a wire have to be run? And is there enough space between the bleachers to accommodate the 8-foot table?
Dan, that's a very good question, and I noticed that on one of my walkthroughs with Paul in the gym. There was not electrical outlets, but they've since been put in. They're at midcourt on both sides of the gymnasium, so whatever side ends up being the home side, the away side, either side could be used. So it's going to be plugged in between the bleachers. And just so everybody knows, so the record's straight, this is pretty much the same one that Benel has. So everybody has the same one, but a lot of high schools are doing this now with the opportunity to have advertising and to bring in some income.
I can add also that the placement of this, it's movable, it's on casters, but it is located in front of your handicap spots, 2 of many of your handicap spots that are cut out into the bleachers, so there's plenty of room for it.
All right, any further questions before I entertain a motion to approve?
Yes, I will piggyback on what Lisa said, if I can, Mr. Chairman, that we have plenty of room outside the perimeter of our court now between the sideline and the bleachers, way more than most high schools have because they've been built in years past. So we have lots of room for, cheerleaders under the basket and for spectators to walk behind the benches and everything else. So there's plenty of room for this, and there's lots of room in the gym. It's been, it's going to look great.
All right,
Mr. Chairman,
thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Rich Fredette.
Rich Fredette, I would like to make a motion to approve with all things being discussed here to take into consideration that monies will be kept track of and it'll hopefully become a small money generator for the maybe the booster club or somewhere in the high school athletic program.
All right, excellent. I think between Paul and Aileen, I'll have them work together to make sure that this gets put into the minutes, reflecting what's been discussed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion, Bob Shalou.
All right, thank you, Bob. Is there any further questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Paul, are there any other FF&E items to discuss or look at this evening?
Did you hear, Chairman?
Nope.
Like that?
Yep. You there, Paul?
Hear me, Alan?
You're a little
I
in
can.
and out. You said no, though, correct?
Oh. Hear that? Can you hear me now, Chairman?
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
I'm sorry about that. So no, there are no further items.
Okay, so that brings us to item 4, the Turner change order item, which I'm sure is going to be our big topic of discussion for the evening. Paul, do you want to kind of start off with this, and then we'll kind of work our way towards the Turner letter?
Certainly, Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Hello again, everybody. So this is a big topic, the biggest topic of the project, quite frankly. We're almost to the finish line, and after demolition, we discovered some deteriorating decking in Building C. In the narrative, I kind of picked up where we left off at last meeting, talking about that day, what happened prior, and really putting that within the narrative and reiterating what was said from the project team to the committee at the last meeting. I copied and pasted the engineer's email as a part of the narrative, talking about his opinion on the matter, on the lower roofs and the upper roofs. And then I go on to explain what the committee's options are, and whether it's a full replacement as is being presented tonight, and or a selective replacement that we would need direction from the committee to at least start the engineering process on how to fasten the deck before a selective process could even begin. A lot of information. I'm hoping that the committee was able to read through all of it and digest it a little bit. Earlier today, upon my request, Turner distributed a narrative of their own to kind of really talk about the technical side, the construction management side of things, on how they came up with this order of magnitude. I distributed that on the refreshed link this morning. And with that, I would ask if the committee has any questions for me before I hand it over to Tim.
Mr. Chairman, Rich Fredette here.
Go ahead, Rich. I didn't know if you were gonna jump in now or hit the Turner piece.
Oh, what the hell? Might as well just get the ball rolling here.
Go ahead, Rich.
First off, I'd like to express how disappointed I am in this whole thing in regards to them coming to us at the very last minute here with this option. I mean, they've been on this thing for over 3 years now. Somebody had to know something that we were going to be facing this situation along the line. I just think that they're pretty much holding us a gun to our head right now, because we really are, at the last hour, and we're getting beat up on this one. Pardon me?
Rich, Paul Drummy from Crack here. I am an extension of this building committee. I am the owner's representative, and this is a clear unforeseen. There is no. This was not seen any earlier than we uncovered it. All this was above hard ceilings in the locker rooms, in the gym, above the terrazzo entryway into the gym. There's no malice behind this.
Okay, my feelings are if we have such an experienced team as they've been quoted to be, and I come from a long line of repairs myself in the automotive field. I discussed this with John Casey today, and we shared conversation back and forth. I personally think somebody with experience would have known that you've got a building that you're going to be doing this type of repairs to, and has come across it somewhere in the past 30, 40 years of, doing this. I mean, again, I'm just very disappointed that we didn't know about this earlier. And again, I feel like I have a gun to my head that you want us to spend over $700,000. And, I'll open it to somebody else at this point here.
So,
hey, Mr. Chairman, can I make a point of order, please?
Yes, Councilman Poisson.
Before any further discussion ensues, we need to make a motion first, please.
So you'd like to make a motion?
Well, somebody needs to make a motion before any discussion happens.
Okay, I thought we were kind of.
Was there a motion made yet?
No, there has not been a motion made yet. We're merely presenting this as an item on the agenda.
Okay, well, it's the item is presented, and then there has to be a motion before there's discussion.
Okay. Someone wish to make a motion concerning this item?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Bob
For the
Shalou.
purposes of discussion? Go ahead, Bob.
I'll make a motion to open the discussion on this particular item.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. Dan Senft.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Hold on, I heard a couple of nays. Can you repeat those, please?
Rich Fredette, no.
Okay, you're voting no on the motion to discuss. Just wanted to get that out there for clarity. Okay, any other no votes on this item? All right, chair votes aye to carry forward with discussion. Paul, should we at this point let Tim kind of present his findings?
Chairman, I agree with that. Let's go through the findings and then open it up for discussion afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Tim, take it from here.
Okay. I'll just summarize again. As Paul had alluded to, he requested that Turner produce a narrative that just went through some of the, technical parts of construction management and what was identified here. As we began to perform the demolition in phase 3A, the final phase of work here, different area of the building. This is the 1943 portion of the building that's to the north of the quarter. That was the renovation done in 2018 in that summer. As we began to do the selective demolition, again, selective, not mass demolition, because we're not taking the full building down. It was identified in the first area above the main entry lobby on the west side heading into the existing gym that there was rust and some deterioration found on the decking. Further reviews of that through RFIs, discussions with the structural engineer and with the design team had presented several different methods to be able to try to clean that rust off and the deterioration. At that point, not having a full understanding of the level of deterioration that we would find. On a Saturday, the painting contractor McKenzie was brought in with the process that was agreed to, which was to try to lightly shot blast that metal deck. Upon shot blasting that metal deck, it began to holes began to appear within that metal deck. Again, with a light shot blast and even with rubbing with a wire brush, the deterioration had already gone through that existing metal deck at that location. On that Saturday, I was contacted by my superintendent on site and we stopped work. That was then followed on Monday morning immediately with Paul and with the design team to begin meetings and have discussions on how we were going to address what was being identified at that time and what was discovered. From there, again, George Perham got involved from Antonazzi, again, met us out on site with Cliff Barone from IES, and we began walking each of the decks. Again, the photos that you can see within the COR 280 that was submitted, as well as in correction narrative, show what we identified and what was found as we started pulling these MEP systems and ceilings down. We also identified issues with the fact that the lower roof elevations are not secured to the joists. We found that the upper roof is secured with small fillet or tack welds, which again are identified in IES's, the structural engineer's report, as not being structurally sound to be able to leave those in place, requiring additional work should we try to salvage the existing deck. Again, all these things paired. Again, we brought a third-party engineer in to take a look at this on the safety side, again, as a Turner requirement to be able to allow personnel up there. It was determined that, again, as the roof sits and with the existing built-up roof on it, it will withstand and spread the load of the snow load and of personnel up there. Again, with that roof assembly removed, there's no guarantee, and they couldn't, through their assessment, they couldn't, through their professional opinion, allow anybody to be up there once that roof assembly is removed. And that deteriorated deck is the only thing between them on the roof and not being on the roof. Again, my narrative continues through trying to give an idea of this order of magnitude cost and the things that we have thought about and items that we've put into trying to pull these costs together to give a comprehensive idea and an estimate of what this is going to be as a cost exposure. And then again, I go through the option that of selective roof replacement within this narrative as well.
So again, this was sent out this morning. I would hope that everybody had a chance to read it, and I can provide any, answers to questions that people may have.
Mr. Chairman, Dan Senft.
Yes, go ahead, Danny.
Listen, I have no doubt that this roof needs to be, or, the structure needs to be replaced. I mean, obviously, I think the part that's bothering most of us is the fact that this was a 1947 roof that probably, going back to when we were originally going through these plans, probably should have been picked up that there could be issues. If it had been noted from the start, I think we wouldn't have the feelings that we're having right now. But I honestly believe that we can't go and just try to patch this up. We need to replace it. And I think it's just the timing of this that's really not sitting well with all of us. However, like I said, I think this should have been picked up from the start, knowing that the age of the roof was such, and I don't know whether it falls in the hands of Antonazzi or Turner at this particular point, but something should have been said back originally when the plans were being done.
So, Paul, can you speak to kind
Mr.
of
Chairman,
what?
can I add something to that?
Well, Ken, if you just hold on for 1 sec, I mean, really what I want Paul to answer is kind of directly related to what Danny kind of ended with. So, Paul, before I
Right,
get Councilman,
Alan, let me just add one thing. I just want to exactly where Danny just left off is that, before we dig into the ground, we take bore samples all over the place. And I think Danny's kind of alluding to the same thing, that maybe we should have taken roof samples all over the place before we started. I don't know, something like that. Is that what you were getting at, Danny?
Yeah, basically, and just knowing the overall age of the building, it should have been considered from the start. I mean, obviously,
right.
Turner's had a lot
Danny.
of experience with roofs. The same thing with our architects. So it should have been discussed at an earlier time. That's all I'm saying. But I strongly believe that we need to replace that whole area.
I agree, Danny, 100%. We don't want to build a brand new school and leave an old, a 50-year-old, over 50-year-old partial roof over one part of the building. I totally agree.
All right, Paul. So in a two-part question, and one of the questions I know that I've asked you before, and I just kind of want everyone to hear the answer. So I know that early on, as part of the design phase, we went through destructive testing for certain cavities and areas throughout the building, and the existing structures and whatnot. So was any destructive testing done on these roofs that are now being called into question? And then my other part is can you kind of explain what the sort of design and construction protocols are, in relation to, just how things work in a situation like this?
Well, Chairman, as far as related destruction in these areas, the one part that we knew was the knuckle area, because that was exposed before anything else was exposed. In that knuckle area, which lies on the southeast portion of the lower roofs, there was no deterioration. There wasn't severe deterioration found like the west side. So that was in regard to you asking, do we have a sample of what was to come? That would have been the only large sample that we would have had until we came across after demolition of the areas and exposed, brought down the hard ceilings and exposed the above. Did you hear that, Chairman?
Yep. That kind of answers the first part. And then just in terms of your guys' experience with CREC and how, similar situations, similar conditions have been addressed. Are we basically following following protocols. I mean, as we go down this path, I just want to make sure that everything's kind of fitting into the, the Office of School Facilities windows, and that all the paperwork's being provided and all the documentation's being put together properly.
Yeah. So the answer to that question, Chairman, is one thing in the past that we would do is more for environmental than anything else. So what I would have done, and I imagine was done on this facility, was to make sure that there was no ACM material within the roof, within the makeup of the roof. So in the very beginning, during discovery, you kind of do cores at certain areas, and within those cores, it's a small core. So now you're bringing up a circular piece of decking in a section of the roof itself, and you're examining it, and it's really too small of a sample size to really understand and see, unless it was really apparent in that one bore location that particular piece of decking in that section was extremely deteriorated.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question. This is really for Tim. Tim,
Go ahead, Danny.
Did the contractor do any core testing? The roofing contractor?
No, the roofing contractor, his scope of work was to remove the existing roof and to put a new roof on it. The other thing to note is that this is a pitched structure, so it's 2 layers of 2-inch insulation. They would have pulled it off and put it back on. We did not have any indications at any point that there was any previous leaks to this roof where there was a breach in the membrane and that there was water getting on this deck, which may have caused the deterioration, or any other indications until we got into this phase of work. Again, this truly was not identified until the selective demolition was done, exposing the underside of this deck.
Hey, Dan, hello. Dan, this is George. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, George.
The other thing I want to add is that because we were doing a full renovation, there was really no reason to do any probes to the roof because we were removing the entire roof. So whenever we remove a roof membrane system in itself and replace it with a brand new roof, we don't usually do probes. The only time we would do a probe would be as if we were going to, I'll say, do a partial renovation or less of a renovation to understand if the roof had to be removed and a new one installed. But in this case, because we were following the state guidelines in regards to renovate as new, the replacement of the roof had to go along with the project. So it wouldn't be a standard protocol to test the roof, other than for the asbestos components.
Well, maybe a situation like this can change that. And maybe in the future, it can just be investigated ahead of time so it doesn't hit us at the last second.
But Ken, I got to tell you, even now, and the reason why a full boat removal is being recommended, even now when we have it partially open, it's still very difficult to determine the extent of the deterioration. We were able to get into, all 4 of the areas. And when you look from below, in some cases, the indication is worse than it actually is when you go up on top of the roof. So there's rusting from below, but when you go up on top, there's not a lot of rusting. However, right next to a good area on the south side, there was actually a hole through the roof. So, we walked underneath all 3 areas, and the gym, forget it, because you need to get up on the lift and you need to go up underneath all the sides of the gym, and it's almost impossible. Because of that, we had several probes taken on top of the roof, but even that, we're only talking about 2 by 2 squares. And to get a real full understanding of what's going on, we'd be probing 2 by 2 squares for, now until, as they say, the cows come home. So it's a difficult situation. It's one of those things that could have looked good from below for a very long time, but now that we've got it opened up, it's starting to look a little bit different. Could you go along and piecemeal this? Yeah, you can, but there's a lot of risk that Tim can add to this in time and in cost. It could potentially save some money, But if we were to find out that more was deteriorated than not, it could end up costing you more money. So, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. However, I think it's an intelligent way to move forward because of all the reasons that Tim has mentioned. I think from a timing point of view, it's going to be the least amount of disruption and the least addition to the schedule. The cost is the cliffhanger, right? We don't really know until we get going. So it just, and then I also want to mention that keep in mind that way back in the beginning, and I forget exactly who's involved in this and who was not, one of the reasons we got a couple of extra points in the rebate from the state of Connecticut was because we were able to charter this project under a renovators new. In order to go to renovators new, we had to maintain a percentage of square footage of existing building. And when we did the feasibility study and studies, I will say way back in the beginning, it was determined that this area of the building, this last 56,000 square feet, from a scheduling point of view, from a renovation point of view, from a productivity point of view, this was the best section to leave. As it works out, the roofing didn't pan out to be that way. But by leaving this section of the building, it allowed, I'm pretty sure it was 2 points more in your reimbursement rate. Because we did do a feasibility study to tear this portion down. But again, when we added the reimbursement rate back into it, it was going to cost the town a lot more money. And so to go to all new school. So we decided to stay on the renovators new path. And that's how we are with this last, I'm pretty sure it's about 56,000 square feet of renovation.
George, I would also, add to that, right? If we talk about any selective, selective replacement, right, we have to keep in mind that even the probes that were discussed of whether or not they were taken or not wouldn't identify what was discovered with the lack of securing this deck to the structure. So this is like a standing seam deck structure that has tack welds underneath it. The structural engineer has listed that in his report regarding the fact that we would have to then add there's about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inch gap between the steel and the underside of the metal deck as it sits today. That would have to be filled with some type of a shim to be able to close that gap off, to be able to secure it down, whether it be a powder actuated fastener or welded down. And that would also require lead abatement. All the steel trusses that are on that high roof are lead, which require all that lead abatement to be done as well. And again, the complications with that, with students returning to school now. So just want to make sure we keep that in mind as well, is that it's not only a deteriorated deck concern, it's also how the deck is currently secured on the upper roof, and that it's not secured on any of the lower elevations in the lower roofs.
So I was kind of glad that Dan Sempt mentioned before that he thinks that the advisable way to address this condition is to go with a full replacement and not sort of piecemeal it. It was one of the questions I had intended to ask Dan. Him and I have been on building needs for a while and done numerous school roofs. He's a roofing professional, and I definitely trust his advice and his opinion when it comes to roofs and building exteriors. So that kind of got checked off on my list of questions. Does anyone on the subcommittee kind of have any other questions they want to bring forward or discuss or me comment?
Mr. Chairman,
Question, Dawn Savo. I'm not on the subcommittee though.
Go ahead, Dawn. I'll recognize you first and then move on to Rich.
I just wanted to ask, with such a large change note, the roofing, is that something that we have to get, or we already got prior approval from the state school construction? Because I know that they have like completely separate, roofing projects that they fund, and I just want to make sure that a change note of such a large scope change is going to be covered. Did I miss that? And I'm sorry if that was answered already.
Paul, do you want to provide a response to that, since it's kind of school facilities related?
Certainly. So this, Don, so we have an allotted amount of money for changes on the project. This is a warranted change, a needed change, which I don't think the state would fight at all on this particular change. So this would be covered under the grant, the existing grant. There would be no need to go and file a new grant just for this portion.
Thank you.
Is that okay? You're welcome.
All right, Rich Fredette.
I guess along this, well, maybe not the same lines. John Casey and I were discussing briefly, is this eligible for the percentage of the state to cover 60-40% of that?
So, Chairman, Paul Drummond from CREC. Mr. Fredette, yes.
Okay, so it's really not costing us $770,000.
That's correct.
Okay, it took the sting out a little.
I'm glad to
Not
hear it.
much, not much, but a little.
A little.
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. Dan Senft. It's for Tim. Tim,
Go ahead, Tim.
availability of product right now with building materials being where they are, is that going to be an issue to hold up the project at all?
We have reached out to and had several conversations with the steel supplier here, STL Steel. They initially were going to use Volcraft. Volcraft was the supplier for the entire project up to this time. They did have some lengthy lead times for shop drawings, 4 weeks, and another 4 to 6 to get the material. They have changed to a different supplier who could supply that same deck. They are field measuring this week as per the approvals last meeting. We expect to have shop drawings in 2 weeks. Then they'll go in for approval with IES and Antonazzi, and material should be available within 2 weeks after approval.
Thanks.
Tim, are you cutting them on site or are they coming already cut?
They are going to come pre-cut and bundled, the traditional in most economic way. We did ask them to price performing that work here on site, and on-site labor gets very expensive, so it will come out here bundled.
Okay, and that's the most economical way?
Oh yes, yeah, anything we can do off-site is the most economical way. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments from the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman,
Now-
I can make a motion to approve this change order.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Poisson. Is there a second?
I'll second a motion, Bob Shalou.
All right, now, Paul, before I call for a vote, should this change order have any of the, kind of not to exceed or possible reconcile later, or has this been reviewed by yourselves and Antonazzi, and this is a true hard cost at the total of $741,282?
No, Chairman, it is not a hard cost. This is an allowance per se. It's an order of magnitude to start the process and move forward. Every dime will be scrutinized by Antonazzi and CREC, and Turner for that matter, because Jen and Tim do a great job making sure their subs are to the dime. So this is a order of magnitude, Chairman, all the members of the committee to get us moving forward to save time.
All right, understood. I just want to make sure that for the record, that both Ken and Bob Shalou will accept kind of the modified language, and then obviously have Aileen get it into both the minutes for the subcommittee and building needs as such, so that we can do our reconciliations as we go through the process and then ascertain the final cost at a later date.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make that as an allowance.
I'll second that
Okay.
allowance.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. Just again, want to make sure that we keep the language clear on these things. All right, before calling for the vote, any last comments?
Yeah, I do. I'm Dan Senft. Another question. Sorry to be a pain in the neck here, but it's for
Go ahead,
Tim.
Danny.
Tim, with using another supplier now, do you see, are there pricing are they pricing this comparable to, I mean, I know we're trying to get this expedited, but are we paying additional costs for product compared to the other manufacturer or supplier?
That's a good question. That would be no. We did get order of magnitude pricing initially from Volcraft. So we do have a comparison between Volcraft and the current supplier, and they are comparable to one another. Again, it is budget pricing. I would ask if anybody has questions. Again, we did our best here to try to be as comprehensive with an estimate as we could be. There are, several items that still need to be worked through. Again, when it comes to the safety and the engineered lifelines, the means and methods to be able to perform this work logistically, whether the tear off needs to happen with, with a crane is what we're looking at today. We're going to have to suspend a scale pan to be able to remove this roof. Again, it'll be full tie-offs. We have temporary measures for thermal and moisture protection that we're going to have to worry about between the 1947 and the 1987 building. So there are a lot of things that we still need to work through, but we did want to be able to give you an estimate based on our experience and knowledge with these types of things. So that's really what this is, and there's several things to work through here, including the PLA. We met with the unions and the building trades yesterday out here on site due to jurisdictional in who claims what work. So we have to have a composite crew out here, and we went through that yesterday to work that out. So again, there's more that comes with this on a daily basis, and we'll iron these things out. And again, this is going to be full transparency. You'll see every invoice and every dollar that's spent towards this change order.
Tim, what's the name of the new supplier?
Jen, do you remember?
Not off the top of my head, no. Sorry. If I look it up, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I can get that, Mr. Prasad. Off the top of my head, I can't remember either. I think they were out of like the Michigan area, Midwest somewhere.
All right, just so we know, if you can get that to Paul and he could get that out to all of us, that would be good.
Yep, distribute to the subcommittee and building needs. Rich Fredette, final comment?
Final comment is I hope somebody's using a very sharp pencil to finish this up. Thank you.
All right, point taken. I'm sure Mr. Drumming and the Turner crew heard you. All right, all those in favor of moving this forward to Building Needs Committee as discussed, signify by saying aye.
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 This doesn't have to go to the council?
Oh no, it does. It's going to go to Building Needs first, and then favorable recommendation to the council in a few minutes.
Yeah, Rich, this is just the Building Needs. Then at Building Needs in a few minutes, then we'll send it to Town Council.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Chairman Llewellyn. Right. I did find the name. The deck supplier is Core Deck. They're out of Wisconsin.
Core Deck out of Wisconsin.
CORDECK out of Wisconsin.
Thank you, Tim. Any persons in opposition to this motion? All right, hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilman Poisson. Is there a second?
Second by Rich Fredette.
Second by Mr. Fredette. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and we are off the clock with the subcommittee at 6:25.
And we're going to start Building Needs immediately, so please stay here. Thank you very much. As soon as Eileen and Margot let me know we're good to go, we will start.
Clock is ticking.
Absolutely.
You're good on my end.
I don't know. He called me Eileen, so I don't know.
I know.
Come on.
Aileen, it's a bad connection from many miles away. Aileen and Margot.
Quorum.
Aileen, I'm in. Oh.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Building Needs Committee to order at 6:27 PM. I believe we were all just on the previous call of the Stratford High Subcommittee. The only item on the agenda is referrals from the subcommittee, so I'll turn it over to Alan Llewellyn.
Thank you, Building Needs Chairman Poisson. As this is a special meeting, people can either review the agendas or check through minutes. So I'm just going to keep this to the referrals from the subcommittee. The first item referred was for a digital scorers table to be provided for the gym. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $16,309.
Rich for that motion to approve.
Okay, so Rich, that's the second. Alan made the motion. Rich makes a second. Is there any
Yep.
discussion? Hearing none, as we were all just on the previous call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, Alan.
Okay, our next item, again, if further details are needed, people can check through the agenda packages or look through the notes on the subcommittee. But I'm going to, and means of referral, make a motion that we send to town council with favorable recommendation in the allowance amount of $741,282 to approve Turner change order request number 280, which is for Building C full decking replacement.
Mr. Chairman, I will second that with an ouch.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion as this was previously discussed in the prior meeting? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Is there anything else, Alan?
No, that concludes the referrals from the high school subcommittee for this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Rich
second.
bet.
Dan
Okay,
second.
motion by Rich, second by Danny. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, before we adjourn, I'd like to thank everybody for your time and effort on this project. We are adjourned. All those in favor?
Under an hour.
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned at 6:29 PM. Thank you very much, everybody.